Welcome to the Holistic Soul Sisters Radio, a channel created to help you heal holistically and grow spiritually. I'm your host, Mandi Rose. I'm not afraid to talk about taboo subjects, so nothing is off limits here. Make sure you hit subscribe and get ready to learn more from me and other experts on all things health, spirituality, astrology, lifestyle, relationships, and so much more. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's begin. Welcome back, Holistic Soul Sisters. It's me, Mandi Rose, coming at you with a very special episode that is going to kick off our mini-series, Energetic Healing. I'm going to talk in this episode about anxiety, and it's going to be probably a different take on anxiety that you've heard before. Obviously, there is so many causes, root cause issues, reasons for having anxiety. So I just want to start off by saying that in no way are the things that I am talking about in this episode your one-stop shop, your cure-all, the only solution for anxiety, but I want to bring a different perspective. I want you to think outside the box. Again, this podcast, Holistic Soul Sisters Radio, is to help you think outside the box. We're going to talk about taboo topics. We're going to talk about things that aren't normally discussed. And anxiety is one of those things that can cripple you. It can paralyze you. It can stop you from living life. And unfortunately, way too many people are dealing with anxiety. I'm going to share with you guys my personal story with anxiety, something I've dealt with since I was probably 17 years old. I'll share a little bit about the different phases in my life, how the anxiety was different in every phase, and how I've gotten to a point using not only holistic healing, but energy medicine and energetic healing to completely get rid of my anxiety. And that's really what I want to share with you guys. And also in this episode, we are going to talk about the introduction into energetic healing. We're going to talk about, how we as physical beings on this earth are just cells and electrical impulses. And once we can understand the science of energy, we can then understand how this energy is blocking us from living our best life. And anxiety is one of those things that is blocking us from living our best life. So it's all going to tie together. By the end of this episode, you'll have a better understanding of what energetic healing is. We're going to dive into the physical and the metaphysical causes, reasons for anxiety that will help you think outside the box for your own anxiety. And then I want to make sure that I give you guys some tips, tools, and resources. Oh, I hope you're excited for this episode. I hope it brings you a lot of value. Again, I know how painful anxiety is. I know how crippling it is. So that's where we're going to start this episode with my own personal anxiety story, which I'm sure so many of you can relate to. When I talk about anxiety with my clients, my friends, my family, pretty much anyone, I start to realize how similar we all are in our experience of anxiety. However, the root causes and the reasons for it vary dramatically. So we're going to start off with me sharing that personal story right now. So I've experienced anxiety for most of my life. It started when I was 17 years old. I'm 35 now, so I've lived with anxiety more than I have not. And it started when I was 17 from something that's actually really common. I was at my doctor's office, I was getting blood work done, and they had forgotten to take the tourniquet off, that little tight band that they put around your arm when you have to do blood work, and they forgot to take it off. And I passed out right there in the doctor's office. Something that has such a reasonable explanation. I knew what happened. I woke up. I was in the care of the nurse. Everything was fine. But in that moment, I lost control. And it changed everything in my life. I became so fearful of going anywhere, of doing anything, that I would again lose control. And this fear started to paralyze me. Within a year, I decided not to drive a car anymore. I was going off to college. I started to change my patterns and behaviors so that I could accommodate this fear. Something I did was bring a bottle of water everywhere I went. I was always nervous that I would get lightheaded or dizzy and I would need some water. I couldn't go to a grocery store alone because I was too afraid that if I got dizzy, I would pass out and there would be no one there to catch me. So the first year of college for me was so difficult. I was struggling to go to class, manage this anxiety, not driving a car, getting used to a new environment. And it was just this period of my life where there was so much fear. And I couldn't understand it. Being in my early 20s, I just didn't know what was going on. After about a year of this, I ended up taking Lexapro, which is an antidepressant that they use very often for anxiety and imbalances of hormones. So I did not want to take it. You guys know how anti medication I am, but I had no choice. I couldn't function, I couldn't live my normal life. So I took Lexapro for about 6 months and realized it wasn't really helping me at all. I was also at that phase of my life where I wanted to drink alcohol. I was in college, I was hanging out with my friends, and you definitely cannot drink alcohol while taking those medications. So after 6 months, I weaned myself off. And of course, what do you think happened? The universe sent me a really big learning lesson. So I had this major fear of elevators, which I think is pretty common. A lot of people hate elevators. Well, I went off my Lexapro, weaned myself off, and guess what do you think happened? I got stuck in an elevator for 2 hours in my college dorm, and they had to call the jaws of life to come open it up. And I had to get through that experience without Lexapro, without anyone else. I just had to use my own mind, calm myself down, and work myself through that experience. And that was monumental for me. Shortly thereafter, I ended up going to a therapist. Again, I was young, I was in my 20s. I didn't really know how she was going to help me, but I do remember looking back, she did a hypnotherapy session on me. It was the first time I ever did like a hypnosis. And she walked me through my anxiety and she helped me reshape my mental thought and my process around anxiety. And it started to get so much better. So after about this 2-year period of letting fear and anxiety paralyze my life and create new patterns and behaviors to accommodate the fear, I actually ended up overcoming it. Now, I want to give you guys a little health coach perspective from all of this. Looking back at this phase of my life, I know that this anxiety actually came from poor gut health, poor nutrition, and being on birth control. So if you are someone that's on birth control and you can correlate your anxiety beginning, within a year or so of you taking birth control, this is very, very common and something I see in a lot of younger women. Birth control is really detrimental to gut health. It can ruin and destroy your gut health. It's a prescription. It irritates the gut lining. If you guys listened to the past episode I did on parasites, you guys know that when your gut health is off and you have, parasites and different bacteria, candida, different bacterial infections, this happens a lot when women are on birth control, our gut health becomes really bad. And now we can no longer create and produce happy brain chemicals or proper hormones from our food sources. And this lack of production, this lack of creation of happy brain chemicals can then lead to anxiety, depression, different mental illnesses. So it's very serious that birth control can lead to that. A second way that birth control is a factor to anxiety is that it depletes our nutrients in our body, B vitamins, D, C, magnesium, all these nutrients that we need from our food to produce the happy brain chemicals get diminished due to birth control. So total tangent, but I wanted to make sure I brought that up. So I know that being on birth control since I was 15 years old, by the time I was 18, I was starting to have these symptoms that were causing me to have anxiety. So I overcame anxiety by 21, 22, and I moved to Florida. So again, I was in a new environment. I was in this really fun, exciting phase of my life, and the anxiety started coming back. And at that point, I decided to get off birth control pills. No more birth control. I'm done with it. And all of a sudden, the anxiety came back, and I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. Of course, right? Everything is tied together. Autoimmune conditions, root cause, poor gut health, parasites, everything we talked about in the last episode. So I, again, had to deal with the anxiety, and I worked on doing all the physical things, taking supplements, increasing my nutrition, working on gut health, doing all the things, and it got so much better. Fast forward 7 years later, I reversed my autoimmune conditions. I'm in my 30s. I'm in this phase of my life where anyone looking from the outside in would think, wow, this girl has everything. I was married. I wasn't working 2 jobs anymore. I became like a partial housewife, part-time, working at a beauty salon, which I absolutely loved. We were financially set. I owned a home. I had my car paid off. I was working out. I reversed my autoimmune conditions. I was really healthy. My body was in a beautiful shape because I had gained some muscle mass. And everything was good. And then all of a sudden, you guys know my mold story, my health crashed overnight. And this is where the energetic piece comes in. When that mold crash happened, of course, there was a physical explanation, but it started with anxiety. The warning lights, the little dashboard lights started to go on in my life with anxiety creeping back in, the fear response, panic attacks, scared, not being able to sleep, all of those things that cripple you when you have anxiety started to creep in slowly but surely. But I ignored them. I kept working out. I ignored the fact that I was feeling this anxiousness. I wasn't addressing my emotions. I don't think at that point in my life I had cried for almost 3 years, stuck in stagnant energy, right? I was intimidated by the people I was around. I didn't have joy in my life. I wasn't working. I didn't have a passion. So I felt very lost. Now, if you go back and listen to my mold episode, you'll hear the physiological, downfall of my health. But for this episode, I want to talk about the anxiety. So once I discovered that I had mold and parasites, bacteria, Lyme, Epstein-Barr virus, all the things, the anxiety was the thing that crippled me the most. And I got to a point where I was so afraid to leave my house. And I'll share with you guys the story. It's so personal. I was so afraid to be alone. I was afraid that I was going to die. I was afraid that I was going to have something bad happen to me. I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to call for help. And I know if you guys suffer from panic attacks or anxiety, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That helplessness, that controllessness, that total panic feeling that something bad's going to happen, right? So I would sit outside in my driveway all day long because I didn't want to be in my house. And I was alone all day long. So I would sit outside in the hopes that if something happened to me, somebody driving by would just see my body laying there. Like those were the thoughts I was consumed by. And I ended up having this major panic attack the one day after 4 months of saying, I'm going to go out in public. I need to live a normal life. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to force myself. And I had a major panic attack in public and I had to go to the hospital. I went to the ER and I remember laying there and the doctors were saying, you just need to take Xanax. You just need to take Xanax. And I was like, I don't want to take Xanax. This is not a Xanax solution kind of thing. I knew it was something greater. I knew it was something deeper. And that is the moment when I decided I needed to do some energetic healing. I had tried everything, right? And I did not want to go on Xanax. And I stood in front of this decision of either take the Xanax or figure out what the hell is wrong with you. And luckily, I had so many health conscious people around me. I had energetic healers around me. And I ended up doing past life regression. And it changed my life. I was in therapy at this time and working with a counselor trying to figure out like what was going on with the mold and my health and the fear. And I remember doing this past life regression therapy. Had no idea what to expect. I'd never done anything like it. And the next day I walked into my therapist's office and she said, wow, you look really good today. Like you look lighter, you feel lighter, like something's different about you. Now, physiologically, I did not feel any different. I still had the fear. I still had the panic. I was still sick with mold, but she could tell that my aura had shifted. Something within me had shifted. So I'm going to dedicate an entire episode of this energetic healing mini series to past life regression. I'm going to share with you guys about my session, what we did, what it was like, and how it helped change my entire mindset. And I reached out to the healer who did my session, and she doesn't do podcasts. She's not on social media. And I asked her if she would come on to that episode, and she agreed. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear how she does this work, how it helps people, and some different examples of how you can use past life regression to heal certain things in your life. So I cannot wait for that episode. But back to my story with anxiety. Fast forward about a month, I was working with my holistic doctor who's also a shaman, and she did some Reiki, some energy healing on me. And we didn't speak a word. She didn't talk to me. She didn't say anything. She just did some energetic healing. And I remember having these visions, and I was breaking down crying of some childhood trauma that I hadn't processed. And I remember leaving her office, and for the first time now at that point in 5 months, I walked out of her office and I looked at the sky and I thought, wow, everything seems a little brighter. I still had the fear. I still had the panic. I was still scared. But walking outside and being able to experience the wind on my skin and the sun and the warmth and notice these other senses come alive again after just being stuck in this panic fear loop just made me realize that I was going to start healing. It was this pivotal changing moment where I believed that my body's healing rate was able to switch back on and I wasn't going to get stuck in that fear response anymore. And we're also going to have an episode in this mini series on Reiki. So stay tuned for that to learn a little bit more what that is, what it involves. I'll talk more about that session. And you guys can learn how Reiki can help you process old emotions, stuck in stagnant energy, trauma that you've experienced. And it's beautiful for people who do not like talk therapy, that don't want to go to a therapist, that don't want to talk about all these things. But Reiki helps you move that energy. Someone is using their energetic field to help you move yours. So stay tuned for that episode if you're curious about Reiki. So at this point in my healing journey, I had done the past life regression. I did the Reiki. I started to work with crystals. My holistic doctor that practiced Chinese medicine was using homeopathy, which is a form of supplementation that uses your own body's energy. She would test my energy, and then she would create a formula that was made to help bring my body's energy back into balance. I was using acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, which talks about the qi and the flow of energy in the body. I would fall asleep every single night listening to sound frequencies that helped resonate with different chakras in my body. I started using light therapy like red light to heal the cells and tissues. I used infrared light in my infrared sauna. So using all these different frequencies and waves of energy to help heal my physical body. So through these little experiences, I started realizing that my anxiety my entire life was an energetic problem. Of course, there's physical reasons. Of course, we have to address those. But there was this block, stuck energy within me, an inability to connect with my own emotions, things that I haven't processed from my current lifetime, childhood stuff, past lifetimes, just all over the map of things that I had not worked and dealt with. And I also realized I was very empathic. And I had no energetic boundaries. I would absorb people's energy like a sponge. I'd walk into a room and someone would tell me a heartbreaking story. And later that night in bed, I'd still be feeling the emotions of their heartbreaking story. I cannot watch scary movies. I can't watch movies that are too emotional. It will stick with me. And I wasn't clear with my energetic boundaries with others. And that's why I wanted to create this mini series for you guys. Energetic healing takes your physical health to a whole nother level. And anxiety is just stuck and stagnant, blocked energy within your body. So I hope that this story, I didn't want to get too deep into it. I could probably talk the entire episode about my personal anxiety story. But once I started processing that part of my life, the mold healing began, the Lyme healing, the Epstein-Barr healing, the anxiety, everything slowly started to fade away and I was able to regain my life. And since that happened 2 years ago, yes, I have little moments of anxiety. Of course, I'm always going to have fear and little panic attacks. But now the way that I process them, the quickness that I can get rid of them, the resources I use to ground my energy and release those emotions that are stuck and to identify them has shifted my mindset completely. So I really hope that this intro episode inspires you to listen to this entire mini series and not only hear it, but think outside of the box and also find a way that you can apply energetic healing to your life. So before we can dive into the physical causes and reasons for anxiety or the metaphysical reasons for anxiety, we first have to talk about energy. What is energy? We all understand the concept of energy, right? It's very clear. Energy is motion, it's waves, it's light, it's sound, it's all these things. But how does energy actually apply to our physical body? How does it apply to our emotions? How does it apply to us being able to heal from anxiety? So let's think about it this way. We know that our body is full of energy. Our heart radiates an electromagnetic field. It can be tested scientifically. We know that it comes out of our body about 3 feet. Same with our brain waves. Brain waves can be seen in different scans and scientific tools. It's measurable. We know that we have brain waves, right? So in our bodies, all of our cells, right? You guys remember from science class when you see a cell, there's electrons, neutrons, protons, and they're flying around a cell. It's just energy. Same thing with our neurotransmitters, right? It's all electrical impulses through our nervous system, through our spine, from our brain to every part of our body, telling our body what to do. So we can all agree that our human body is just a bunch of electromagnetic impulses, just a bunch of energy flying around, making our bodies do this thing on autopilot, right? And we also know that there's something called an energy field. It's measurable. We know that wherever there's energy, there's a field around it. We can see this with a magnet. When you take a magnet and you wave it over some metal pieces, we can see those pieces of metal just slowly moving, right? The magnet's not even touching them. We just know that there's a field of energy between the magnet and the metal, but we can't see it. Same thing applies to our entire body, into the energy of the world, right? We know that sound has wavelengths in its energy. We know that light can be broken up in different wavelengths of energy, right? We can see the rainbow spectrum. We know that scents are energy, right? When you smell something, you're smelling something that can't be seen. So our entire body operates through energy. We can sense the energy of a room, right? When you walk into a room and you can feel that there's tension, or you can feel that there's love, or you can feel like there's a secret, right? We have this sixth sense of feeling people's emotions. So we take on the world, and we have to realize that we're constantly being bombarded by external energy. Our bodies alone have their own resonance, have their own frequency. All of our cells operate at an optimal frequency of energy, but we're being bombarded from the outside world of all sorts of other kinds of energies, other people's emotions, the energy of an environment, the energy of Wi-Fi and our cell phones, and all different technology that's emitting its own frequency. And then it comes in contact with our body's energy. And this is where we can get all jacked up. This is where we can notice our bodies just totally being disrupted from its homeostasis point, from its normal, natural energy state. And this is where energetic healing comes in. This is where we learn to go back to our own frequency, go back to our own resonance, and remove the external stimuli, remove all the things that attach to our energy field that make us feel uncomfortable, that make us feel not like ourselves. So we're going to dive into that in just a moment. But let's talk about the physical response in the body when we are over bombarded by external stimuli. So this is something you can experiment with at your own house. And I noticed a huge difference when I was healing from mold. It was like my body was just in a loop. It wouldn't heal. So I decided that I needed to turn the Wi-Fi off at night. And it made such a difference, right? Because when we're sleeping, so many of us have a very disruptive sleep cycle. We'll wake up in the middle of the night. We can't stay asleep. Maybe you can't fall asleep very easily. Well, think about it this way. Your body at night is trying to calm its energy. It's trying to relax, right? Your brain is sending signals to your muscles to relax, right? It's creating its own energetic field to get you into a deep REM state of sleep. But now you have this Wi-Fi from your house, from all the electronics in your house bombarding you, this external stimuli, and it's disrupting your natural rhythm. So I totally challenge you to turn your Wi-Fi off at night and see if you can feel the difference. When we moved into our house, we didn't have Wi-Fi for the first month. And I remember just laying in bed in the mornings and just feeling so calm and so peaceful because there was no external bombarding of electromagnetic frequencies. And the same thing goes with our cell phones, right? We know that holding onto a cell phone and putting it in certain areas of our body, like you should never carry your cell phone in your pockets or near your reproductive organs, because again, that electromagnetic pollution can disrupt the cells in your organs, in your ovaries, in your uterus, and these beautiful organs that we have to carry babies. Or if you carry your cell phone in your bra, absolutely not, right? It's disrupting our natural rhythm of our cells and our breast tissue, right? And there are studies that show that that can lead to breast cancer. Disrupted cells become damaged cells become cancerous cells. And that's why I end up carrying crystals in my bra, because who doesn't want good vibes in that part of their body? This is one way we can take on energy pollution leading to anxiety, right? If you have a lot of external stimuli that's not you, you're going to feel it. And your body being out of balance is what can lead to anxiety because now your body's like, hello, something's off. I don't feel normal anymore. And it starts slowly and it creeps in. So, this is a huge tip if you are dealing with anxiety. Number one, try to reduce the electromagnetic frequencies around you, turn off your Wi Fi at night, and try to ground into the earth, right? Get back to the earth energy. Get your body and your cells back to its homeostasis point. So, put your feet in the earth, get out in nature, get away from electronics, take a really good sea salt bath, and see if that will help your energy. Other physical cause for anxiety that we need to talk about that relates to energy is our fight or flight response in our body, right? We know that emotions, hormones, these signals from our brain into our nervous system is all energy. So, what happens, right? So, we know that when we have anxiety, it's pretty much a fear. We have a trigger, something makes us fearful, and then we go down this rabbit hole and spiral where we now become completely paralyzed. So essentially, what happens in the body is we go into fight or flight response, right? Some trigger happens, and now all of a sudden we release cortisol, adrenaline. Everyone that's had an anxiety attack knows exactly that heat feeling I'm talking about. All of a sudden, you have this rush of heat through your body. Cortisol gets pumped out, adrenaline gets pumped out. Did you know that when we go into fight or flight, over 1,200 different mechanisms in our body turn on? Our heart rate goes up, our breathing increases, our blood flow goes crazy, our muscles prepare to run from the lion, our cortisol spikes. All of these things happen in our body. That fight or flight response happens. And now it could be a physical thing, like you're in the car and someone pulls out in front of you and you have that panic feeling and now you don't calm down. The rest of your drive to work, you're feeling jittery and anxious. Or it can be an emotional thing. So let's say you're at a party and someone says something to embarrass you in front of everyone at that party. Again, you have that fear response, right? That trigger, that embarrassment. And now this emotion comes up and your adrenaline goes up and you get stuck in this fight or flight response. Now, what happens over time, unprocessed emotions, things like embarrassment or having your heart broken or someone saying something to you that feels betrayed or a friend makes fun of you, some sort of emotional response. Or it can be a physical response. Like I said, kind of like in the car, someone pulls out in front of you. You see something happen to your kid, like they fall off a swing set, and now you're really scared. And now you get stuck in that fear response. Did you know animals, when they go into fight or flight, so you'll see this in deer, you'll see this in dogs, when they get scared, they'll run. But when they're done running, they will stop and they will shake. They will shake their entire bodies because they are shaking off the energy of that fight or flight, that cortisol, that adrenaline, that fear response in the body. They will physically shake their body to remove the energy. But we don't do that as humans. You are in the car, someone pulls out in front of you, you have your anxiety spike, you get to work, you got to rush into the next meeting, and you go on and on and on and on with your day. And you never fully processed or shook off that energy that you had when you went into fight or flight. Or let's say someone says something to you emotionally and it hurts you. You never process it. You go home, you shove it down, you ignore it, you move on with your day, you say, I'm not going to think about it. And 10 years later, something else happens in your life and it triggers and reminds you of what happened 10 years prior in that same emotional pattern. Now, I hope you're following along. I'm trying not to get too technical, too scientific. I'm trying to just break it down in a really simple way that's going to help you guys understand what happens here. So, you have a triggering response, you go into fight or flight, you don't shake off the energy, and now your body is stuck in this loop, right? Our bodies are so smart, and what it's doing all day long is protecting us from not dying. So we are, again, remember our body, our senses are smelling things, tasting things, touching things, seeing things, sensing things with our intuition, all in a way to protect us, right? Protect us from touching the hot oven, protect us from that burning smell if we're burning something and we can smell fire, protecting us from going into circumstances and situations that feel off, right? Our body is constantly protecting us from external things that could cause us harm. So now we have this fight or flight. We get stuck. We don't shake off the energy. And now the body is just waiting for the next stimuli. It's just waiting for the next time it has to protect us. And we get stuck in this loop. And it happens multiple times a day. You wake up in the morning, your alarm doesn't go off, boom, spike in adrenaline, spike in cortisol, gotta go, gotta run. Then you have a phone call with your significant other and they say something that triggers you and hurts your feelings. Boom, another response, fear. Are they gonna leave me? Fear, abandonment. Then you're in the car, boom, someone pulls out in front of you, spike, fear response. You get to work, you're afraid of losing your job because now you're in trouble and you have to go talk to the boss. Do you see how all day long we are triggered with fight or flight and fear? And our nervous system goes into overdrive. And we never shake off the energy. We never release and remove that energy, that heat, that cortisol, that adrenaline, that rush. And we come home and we're exhausted because when our nervous system is on overdrive all day long, we become exhausted. This leads to adrenal fatigue. The adrenals are the organs that produce cortisol, that produce adrenaline, that produce these hormones that help save us when we go into fight or flight. But they're tapped out. They're drained and now we're exhausted. And this can lead to anxiety, burnout, right? Literal burnout. Go, 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 go. Constant fight or flight, constant protective mode. And we don't get a chance to relax and reset. We don't shake off the energy. We don't dance. We don't ground ourselves. We don't read a book. We don't enjoy life. We don't experience fun and playfulness like children. We don't reset. And a really good book, here's a resource for you guys. A really good book to read on this topic is called The Body Keeps Score. The Body Keeps Score. And it talks about how our body is so intelligent that it's going to remember everything that it happens to it. Every external stimuli, every fear, every emotion, everything. In an attempt to create a puzzle where it can see the picture of preventing us from getting hurt again. It's no wonder that when we get into this pattern, into this loop, this cycle, that we're going to experience anxiety. So I want you to kind of keep this in mind as you go through this through your day. And this is where energy healing can come in and clear that, get you out of that cycle, take you out of the fear response, help process those emotions that you've been shoving down and release them, get rid of them so they're not in your aura, so they're not in your energy field anymore. Again, like I said, anxiety can be the inability to connect with an emotion that just hasn't been processed. Whether it's fear, pain, shame, guilt, all of these things, we have to process them just like the animals shaking off the energy in the wild. So, of course, this leads into now the metaphysical reasons of anxiety. We're going to dive a little bit deeper, and that can come from trauma. Now, trauma doesn't necessarily have to be just in this lifetime. It can be ancestral trauma. A lot of people come from cultures that experience war, fear, chaos, poverty, hardships. Will get passed along down our lineage, through our DNA, through our tissues, through our cells, and pass on from one generation to the next. Now, this is especially true for women passing on ancestral trauma to their unborn children. When women are born, we already have all the eggs in our ovaries that we're going to have for our entire lifetime. We don't create any more. And those are all cells waiting to be born. So if you have a trauma response as an adult, of course, all the cells in your body are going to keep score. And that trauma can get stored in our eggs, in our ovaries, in our reproductive system. And now that same cell becomes born as our children. And now their bodies have that same trauma response in the DNA. There are so many studies coming out on ancestral trauma and how we pass this kind of energy, this stuck, stored, stagnant energy down through our DNA. So this is where energy healing can come in and help you clear these things before you become a parent, help you clear these things even after you've become a parent so you can help your children do the same. Using past life regression, using Reiki, tapping in it, and we can change our DNA. It is so beautiful that this is something we're learning so we can break the trauma response and also helping us process our childhood trauma. Anything under the age of 7, we are not processing. We are only absorbing. And things that we don't even remember, traumas that we aren't even remembering from our childhood, can be affecting us today on an energetic level, causing us anxiety, causing us fear, causing us to get stuck in a loop and a pattern. So, again, processing things that we don't realize can help with our anxiety. Research has even come out and shown that autoimmune disorders are closely linked to childhood trauma. So, this shows us that this stuck and stored energy can later lead to these physiological things going on in our body. So, oftentimes when we don't remember these things, we don't need to go back and remember them. We just need to process, again, shake off the energy like the animals in nature do. Another way, on a metaphysical level, that energy can lead to anxiety is blocked chakras. We're going to have an entire episode that's going to talk about the chakras in the body and how they relate to organ systems and our emotions. And when they get blocked, we're not able to channel and flow energy through our body. Do you ever feel like you just have this rock in your stomach, this gut feeling, and you just feel like you're stuck? Or maybe in your throat. Do you ever feel like you want to say something to someone and you just can't get it out, and now your throat gets really tight and swollen and sore? That is blocked energy in the body. And of course, when energy cannot flow through your body, when this channel of what Chinese medicine calls qi from your feet to your head, you're going to feel blocked and you're going to feel stuck. And blocked energy leads to anxiety. Again, your body is out of balance. It's out of whack. It's not able to fully express itself. You're not able to fully feel all of your emotions. Then we're going to lead to anxiety. Remember the warning light, the dashboard light of your body saying, hello, something is out of balance here and it needs to be processed. And lastly, a metaphysical reason for anxiety is taking on other people's energy. Now, if you're empathic or very heart-centered and super compassionate and you feel for other people, we can take on their energy. And this is very obvious. Like I said before, when you walk into a room and you can feel that a lot of people in the room are angry, you get this vibe when you walk in. Or what about when you walk into a room where there's sadness or heartbreak? You immediately can feel that in your own energetic field. But what happens when we take on other people's energy? Let's say you are in a relationship with somebody and they're always negative. What's going to happen to you? Eventually, you're going to become negative unless you're consciously aware, unless you create some really strong energetic boundaries where you don't allow their emotions to become your emotions, right? We can see this a lot in work environments where people work with the general public, nurses, healthcare workers, beauticians, people that work at grocery stores or in retail environments. People that come in contact with a lot of other humans can absorb that energy. This is why they say that a therapist needs a therapist, right? Because we can hold on and store the energy of other people. So this is something I want you to really pay attention to in your life, especially if you're dealing with anxiety or low energy or depression. Are you making sure and protecting your own energy and not absorbing the energy of the people around you? Who are you choosing to hang around with? What kind of job do you have? What kind of energy are you picking up from your job? Where are you spending a lot of your time? And how does it feel when you're in that environment? Do you go somewhere and feel joy? Because if that's the case, you need to spend more time there. If you feel like when you call a specific friend and when you get off the phone, you feel drained and heavy and exhausted, you're taking on their energy. You're absorbing their negativity. And we have to find a way to release and to let this go. And this is where I find the beauty of energetic healing, right? I use meditations, I use sound frequencies, I use essential oils when I go in my bath, I use crystals. So I can help people go through devastating things. So I can call my girlfriends and let them vent. But as soon as I am done with that situation, I can then move into my own energetic field and release that emotion. I don't need to hold it. I don't need to carry it. Also, when I go into public where I know there's going to be a lot of other energies, a lot of people around me, I want to protect my energy. You guys know I own my own beauty salon. And when people come in, they're going to share their life and they're going to share their hardships. And I love being there for my clients. I always wear a black tourmaline crystal necklace to help keep their energy off of my energetic field. So I can listen to them and I can be there for them, but I don't need to absorb it. So this is something I want you to really consider. So I don't want this episode to be too long. I hope that this sparked some curiosity and some interest and maybe connected a couple dots for you in your life. So as we dive in this mini series of energetic healing, you're going to find more resources. We're going to have experts come on. We're going to have really practical tips, and we're going to have ways that you can start implementing energetic healing into your life so you can not only heal your physical body, but heal the emotional and spiritual part of your body as well. So I'm going to give you guys a preview over the next 8 weeks of the episodes coming up in this energetic healing mini series. Episode number 1, crystal and chakra therapy, how rocks can relate to our body. Episode number 2 and 3, it'll be a 2-part, sound, light, smell, and touch, how using the energy of our senses can help heal the body, mind, and spirit. In this episode, we're going to talk about aromatherapy. We're going to talk about light frequency therapy. We're going to talk about sound frequency and sound baths and sound meditation. And then we're going to talk about touch and how physical touch can heal the body. Episode number 4, past life regression, how going back helps you move forward. Episode 5, mediums, intuitives, and psychics, tapping into our higher self and spirit guides and how we can become more intuitive with our own energy field. Episode number 6, Reiki, clearing blocks to get unstuck. Episode number 7, acupuncture and Chinese medicine. It's more than just needles in random places. And lastly, episode number 8, balancing our feminine and masculine energies so we can bring peace and balance back to our relationship and our lives. So I hope you guys are looking forward to these episodes as much as I am. I'm going to get as many experts on to come in and share with you guys their genius, their healing therapies, and how it helps people. So for now, let's wrap up this episode on anxiety and let me give you some practical tips on how you can start healing your anxiety energetically right now. So number 1, you're going to want to clear your energy in one way or another. So sound is a really good thing, listening to music. How many times can we listen to a song and it makes us happy or it makes us sad, right? Sound is a great healer. So put on some happy music when you're feeling low. Or breath, taking deep breaths, doing a breath work meditation. You can YouTube breath work session and just do some good deep breathing to clear that energy. And of course, motion, like we were talking about animals shaking off the energy when they go into fight or flight. Adding in more motion to your daily routine, dancing, walking, exercising, something where you can take that energy that you've stored from the external world and dispel it, displace it by moving your body. Number 2, stop distracting yourself. Again, shoving down that emotion, ignoring how you feel, not paying attention to the energy around you. Stop distracting yourself. Sit with it, process it, journal that emotion, talk about that emotion, scream the emotion, whatever you got to do. Stop distracting yourself. Number 3, start to live in the present moment. This is huge for anxiety. When you have that fear of what's going to happen tomorrow, fear what's going to happen to you later, fear of dying, fear of something going wrong, you are not living in the present moment. So something I like to do is find a mantra. And when I go down that rabbit hole, that spiral, that loop of anxiety, I start to say my mantra. My mantra is, you are safe, you are healing, you are happy. You are safe, you are healing, you are happy. When I can't fall asleep at night, I repeat that in my head. When I am having an anxious moment throughout my day, I say, you are safe, you are healing, you are happy. And just reminding my brain that everything is okay, getting myself out of that stuck loop of fear response. Number 4, surrender. This is so difficult for type A people. A lot of times when we are type A and we're go, 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 and we just burn the candle on both ends and we try to be superwoman or superman, we can burn out. So surrendering, allowing the flow of life to happen, right? Allowing yourself to relax and to find joy and to find flow. I know that's a tough one. We're going to talk a lot more about that in this mini series. Number 5, most important when it comes to anxiety and energetic healing, is to prioritize yourself. I have an episode in the Heartbreak to Heal mini series called How to Be a Selfish Bitch, and it's super important to prioritize yourself, right? Making sure you focus on healing, making sure you take time to do these energetic clearing sessions, making sure you take time for yourself to disconnect from the world and ground in your own frequency, to take baths, to reset your energy, go outside and ground yourself in the earth, get back with the frequency of nature, away from the Wi-Fi and the electromagnetic fields. But all of these things, everything you're going to do to heal yourself holistically or spiritually, comes from prioritizing yourself first and foremost, so you can be the best version of yourself for other people, so you can show up and hold space and listen to people when they're having negative experiences and not taking it in on yourself, so you can be there for others when they need you to physically and not suffer yourself. So prioritize yourself is the biggest thing when it comes to dealing with anxiety. So I hope you guys found value in this episode. I cannot wait to dive into the next 8 weeks on all the episodes on energetic healing. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Please share this podcast with anyone you think could benefit, anyone that wants to open their mind, that wants to heal holistically, grow spiritually. And if you could just take a few minutes and leave a review and hit that 5-star button, that would mean the world to me. You guys know my mission is to help people heal holistically and grow spiritually. And I want to grow this community of holistic soul sisters. So I absolutely need your help to do that. Please share this with anyone you think could benefit and that would be interested in the energetic healing mini series. I know that it is so difficult for people to grow their platforms nowadays since there are so many different social medias and people are so entertained by many different things in life. So I just really appreciate all of your help in giving me that energy back as I share my energy with you on this podcast. And also, if you guys want to connect with me, you can connect with me over on the Instagram at holistic.soul.sisters. And I'm going to share with you guys something really exciting coming in November. I'm going to be adding a lot more value to that Instagram page. So if you're not following it, go hit follow now. We're going to start doing every day of the week a different topic. So on Saturdays, it's going to be What's in the Stars Saturdays. So I'm going to do an IG live every Saturday talking about the upcoming astrological week, what you can expect, whether it's full moons, new moons, retrogrades, major things happening in the sky. So over on the Holistic Soul Sisters Instagram on Saturday, it'll be What's in the Stars Saturday for the upcoming astrological week. Sundays on our Facebook group, we're going to be doing Soul Growth Sundays. This is something I started about a year ago, but I haven't been consistent, and I really think there's a need for it in our community to show up on Sunday mornings where we can grab our tea, our coffee, and just hang out for 30 minutes or less and talk about a topic that's going to help grow our soul, that's going to help make us a better person, that's going to help us go out into the world as a collective, as a community of holistic soul sisters and inspire people around us. So we're going to take that time together as a community on Sunday mornings. You can join us live. If you can't join live, the replay will be in that Holistic Soul Sister Facebook group. So if you haven't joined that, the link is going to be in the description box or the show notes, depending on where you are listening. There's also a link on the Instagram profile to our Facebook group. Then Tuesdays is Taboo Tuesday. So that is when we talk about some sort of taboo topic over here on the podcast. So on the Instagram page, we're going to dive a little bit deeper. You'll get some more resources. So make sure on Tuesdays you not only catch the podcast, but also head over to the IG where we're going to dive more into that taboo topic. Wednesdays are going to be Wellness Wednesdays. So I'm going to be either uploading a YouTube video that is talking about some form of holistic healing, holistic medicine to help you heal holistically. And on the Instagram, we're going to have some more information on that topic. So make sure you check out Wellness Wednesdays. And then on Fridays, we're going to have Favorite Friday. And this is something that's been requested from you guys so much, whether it's the Facebook community or the Instagram community, is what are my favorite products? What am I using in my spiritual routines? What kind of crystals? What kind of oracle decks? What am I using to heal holistically? What kind of supplements? What kind of essential oils? What kind of routines? What do I use in my house for clean beauty, for cleaning products? So Favorite Friday is going to be lifestyle things to help you heal holistically and grow spiritually. So make sure you're following that Instagram page. So many exciting things happening and coming up. I cannot wait. And of course, if you're not following the YouTube channel, Holistic Soul Sister TV, go ahead and search for that on YouTube. I have these podcast episodes linked there as well, but that is where I do all my astrological videos, and coming up here for Wellness Wednesday, all the holistic health videos as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this episode. I cannot wait to connect with you more. Jump over to Instagram and send me a message. Tell me how you're doing and let me know how this episode helped inspire you. I will catch you guys next week for the kickoff of the Energetic Healing mini series. And until then, keep healing holistically and growing spiritually.